Primal Chaos. Hey guys, Primal Chaos here. Welcome to the channel. Now, in honor of me getting some brand new merch sent over, this is my Kangaiju Primal Chaos Japanese influenced merch shirt. Excuse the gut. So this is a Japanese kaiju style kangaroo, anthropomorphized obviously, with Primal Chaos HERE. I think I pronounced that right. In katakana just there. If you want to pick one of these up, you can grab it at primalchaos.com. We've got them in men's and ladies in a whole bunch of different colors and stuff like that. But, you know, I figured since celebrating this new merch, I thought, let's do something Japanese. And I'm kind of really feeling it right now. So I want to check out some Band-Maid. I might even dive into something guitaric spin after this. I'm super keen to get back into Band-Maid again. They always impress me. They tend to defy genres, which is something that I'm personally a big fan of. And they're all really competent musicians and composers. So let's have a look at this. This one comes from the Discord. They described it over there as being a fan favorite. So there's obviously something to this that's interesting. I know it's a live performance, so that's always exciting as well. Before we dive right in, I just wanted to say this video is also brought to you in part today by Enchroma. Enchroma make lenses for colorblind people like myself that allow you to see the world a little bit more accurately. If you or anyone you know is colorblind, check the link in the description. It'll take you to their website where you can get a free eye test, find out if you have a deficiency, if so, what kind, and you might be able to pick up some cool corrective lenses over there. Let's dive right in. Band-Maid Puzzle, official live video. Here we go. Okay, so this is recent. Okay, 2023. Just heavy riffs, just punch in the face. It's really cool. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, that's interesting. Wow. Okay, so straight off the bat, that sort of little, I guess you'd call it an ostinato, guitar part is she's playing it unusually, and I think the reason for that is what's she? Right, okay, so she's not doing that. I could see the way that her hand was moving. I was wondering why she was making such a big get out of there. That was the melody. Let's check that out. Okay, what makes it interesting though, just to my eyes, because I was looking at it going, why is she moving it? Let me get it a little bit more in frame. So she's playing like that, right? Which is, it's a lot of neck movement, which you normally, when you're playing guitar, the idea is you want to try and keep your lateral movement to a minimum, because you've got all these other strings that you can utilize the same notes, because it's, you know, there's only 12 notes and they're spread out all across this neck to make it easier to sort of play things like, you know, chords and things like that, right? So that's a lot of movement to get down to this down here, right? Because you could just as easily get that note there and, you know, keep it in one pattern. Much easier to do, much less chance of you sort of hitting the wrong note, things like that. The reason she's playing it like that is because she's doing this really cool pull-off sort of thing. It's a little bit like, if you know AC/DC, because that's just not, it's, you're pulling off to that open string, right? And so she's doing the same. Which is so subtle and not necessarily all that necessary when you can. I feel like a lot of guitarists would have defaulted to that, but it wouldn't have sounded as interesting, which is again part of the reason why these guys are so good. They always find a way to make something a little bit more challenging and textural and more interesting in the way that they play. Let's jump back and listen to that again. Just a great riff too. Yeah, it's doing it again. Yeah. Nice. See, she's sort of continuing that concept of pulling off to the open string, even through those little solo kind of fill parts and stuff like that, which is great because it just adds just a little bit more texture between notes. It sounds like more's going on, even though she's playing quite fast and a lot of notes. It's almost like it's the same way that like somebody like the Edge uses a delay, right? Where it's adding notes in between. She's doing the same thing by just pulling off to an open string and sort of creating the sound of extra notes in between, even though they're mostly muted and stuff like that. But it's really cool that they keep on following that theme. That's one of the things I've noticed a lot about a lot of bands like this in Guitaric Spin is that they tend to come at you at 11 all the time. There's always something filling the space. And occasionally, just by choice, they'll drop back to something that's a little bit more forgiving. But, you know, they're kind of always erring on the side of the Yngwie Malmsteen thing is more. How can less be more? More is more. And you know, I'm a fan of that because it gives your ear so much more to grab onto and little things to pick at after you've heard something several times, you know? I got to give Konami props too. Miku props. Just providing solid rhythm guitar through this. That's a sassy solo right there. That's another. You hear how it's building up? Actually, I've got... Yeah. So I just want to jump in there too as well. Those little double bend things she's doing there, that's kind of like a... She's kind of like bending, like she's holding a note. So she's sort of playing two notes at once. I'm not sure exactly what she's playing, but you can hear it adds dissonance. It adds like this weird sort of out of tune rock energy to it. That's just, it's not clean and precise. It's kind of organic and gainy and natural. And she's doing, you can see her doing it right there. So I mean, it just sort of resonates, you know? Oh, we're still going? No? Okay. That's just classic rock right there. So I wanted to touch on a couple of things that I don't normally bring up in Band-Maid songs. I don't talk about Saiki all that much, just because I don't really, there's nothing she really does that sort of jumps out to me as unusual, you know, in my sphere of things. But what I will say is that, and again, that's my sort of, I guess to my detriment, rather than it being anything to say about her as a vocalist. What I'll say about this one, though, that really stood out to me was that it's a real high energy performance for a vocalist. It's a lot of rapid fire delivery with very few places to breathe. And so she's got to maintain that energy, because it's kind of, at the end of the day, it's kind of like a punk groove. You know, it drives pretty fast, kind of thing. And so she's got to keep up with that momentum and without any waning energy. And, you know, she's not missing a note. She's a very seasoned and very talented vocalist. I also wanted to talk about how she always seems to be able to come up with really strong earworm melodies. But I think what it is, that the reason I never think of anything to say about her is because they're so much quintessentially the right choice that they don't stand out, right? They just really sort of sit in the pocket and do their job and serve the song so perfectly that there's not much to talk about. Like, she's not doing anything that you'd be like, whoa, that was wild, or that was really interesting. It's just, everything fits like a puzzle, right? It all just works together to the point where, you know, if everything's working like a well-oiled machine, then a lot of times things don't stand out, right? And as a guitar player, fundamentally, I tend to talk more about the guitar player sort of activities that I see going on stage. And it's a little bit unfair because, again, and also Akane, I'm not a huge drummer. I don't have a vast sum of drumming knowledge. But again, she does the job so effortlessly and perfectly that nothing sort of jumps out and makes me go, wait a minute, what was that? Or, you know, that was an unusual choice. It all just works, right? Be remiss of me to not talk about Misa. And again, it's the same sort of thing. I feel like this particular song is kind of, for me, stepping back and letting the guitar players have a little bit of more fun. You know, there's a couple of guitar solos. The rhythm guitar parts are kind of that drop D kind of riffiness that's kind of always fun and has a lot of impact, particularly in live situations like this. But, you know, again, Misa is just basically doing her thing the way that she does. She's keeping up the momentum and the tempo, providing the fundamental sort of the foundations of that sort of punk groove, along with Akane. If it is Akane, I'm sure it is. You know, and they're just keeping that rock bottom so fundamental that you can have these expressive riffs and stuff over the top. But I did notice what I always notice with Misa is that it's not enough to just plod along to the rhythm. She'll always throw in really exciting sort of octave shift kind of fills and things to sort of tie parts together and everything. But again, in such a way that it doesn't stand out. You don't, unless you've heard the song 2 or 3 times and you start listening for things below the surface and you go, whoa, that bass line's intense, or wow, that was a really cool bass lick. It's not stuff that sort of jumps out immediately and grasps you by the throat, which is, again, part of the joy of these guys is that, 3 or 4 listens in, you're still hearing new things. And I think that kind of might be part of their raison d'etre. It's like the energy behind them is let's write pop songs, essentially pop punk, sort of whatever, power pop sort of energy kind of things. And again, I know they do a bunch of stuff in different genres, but fundamentally it's all relatively easy to listen to, right? But the complexity is it's subversive, right? Because the complexity is there. It's like you're looking at a river that's flowing along and doing what it does, in a way you expect a river to do. But when you jump in, suddenly the undercurrents and the undertows pull you under and throw you through at the rocks. There's a lot of complexity going on there that you're not going to find until you dive in, and that's testament to how proficient they are as musicians and composers, and the energy that they have as a group, which is what always keeps me coming back to, because it's exciting to hear somebody who checks all the boxes in a way that you expect, until you look closer and you start going, wow, there's a lot of unexpected sort of energy under the surface, and that's always really creatively inspiring as well. That's basically it. If you feel like I've brightened your day at all, feel free to buy me a coffee. I'll leave a link in the description. Or just hit super thanks under the video. That's really helpful as well. Like, share, follow, subscribe, all that stuff. Check out my Discord. Check out my merch, primalchaos.com. I try to sort of keep things interesting over there, as you can see. And yeah, stay primal. I'll catch you on the next one.